welcome back to the podcast. Mr. Michael Pedersen is here, return guest. I've narrated some of his books, and his website is MikePedersen.com. Michael Pedersen is a seasoned business coach. He's a growth strategist with over 40 years of entrepreneurial experience and 20 plus years coaching business owners and entrepreneurs. So we're going to find out about how to accelerate the growth of your business, his membership program, how to boost your revenues, and so much more. So, Michael, glad to see you again.
Robert, thanks for having me on. You're making me sound quite old, but it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, you could say old, you could say wise, or whatever, take your pick. And so, what is the latest? What's your passion? What's your focus? What has you amped up and hyped up?
The launch of my Business Growth Accelerators membership. I'm finally launching something that it's affordable for any business owner. $97 a month it starts off with, and goes up from there. But it really is, for a lot of business owners, to hire a marketing agency is thousands of dollars a month minimum. And that's kind of what I charge even in my coaching. But I heard from a lot of people that said, do you have anything that's more realistic? And so I'm kind of right in the middle of a pre-launch of this Business Growth Accelerator, but I'm really excited about it.
Well, great. And I can tell that you're excited, and I'm excited for you. And so, business growth, I always kind of, anything like business related or like MBA or whatever, I was just like, I don't need to know about my Six Sigma and core competencies. But then over time, and especially when I talk to you, I get really excited about working on my list, working on my leads, checking out my branding. And I know that some of the websites that you make are pretty dang amazing looking. And even just, when I talk, just because of you, earlier this year, I started recording 4 reels a day. Even like just this morning, it's part of my habit, and putting it on the social media and putting it through Chat GPT. And so you've been an inspiration in all those ways. But as far as business growth, like, where are people missing the mark, and what sort of change do you provide?
Well, they're not differentiating enough. Everybody sounds the same. And, that is a challenge because, when I consult and coach with a lot of the owners, they have a very difficult time coming up with something different. They're offering their customer support, anything, so what I really try to find is something that slipped in the cracks with them that I can pull out of them that's different. And when you can do that, then you can market that everywhere and people view you differently. And typically the differentiating factor has got to be something that provides value to the customer. It can't be related to your own service. It's got to be, how do they get more value on their end in a different way that everybody else is doing?
And that sounds exciting. But it also seems like maybe it takes a lot of thinking, right? Or a lot of deep thinking. And so, do you have a fun example of this? Like this whole idea of like differentiating and finding the message that gets through the cracks? Like, what do you have as far as like a before and after example?
Well, this was quite a while ago now, but because I don't work with dentists very often, but I had a dental office here in Scottsdale and sat down with their team, and I was just saying, what makes you guys different? Oh, we've got TVs in the ceilings. I go, everybody does. Well, we've got free Wi-Fi. I said, everybody does. We've got coffee in the lounge. Everybody does, right? So they kept saying everything that all the other competitors do. And I go, keep going. And they did a brain dump. And then one of the dental assistants said, it's no big deal, but we make sure everybody gets in 5 minutes. And I go, wait a minute, stop. What'd you just say? And they said, we make sure that our patients don't wait any longer than 5 minutes from their scheduled appointment. And I go, well, shoot, I mean, that's unbelievable, because most of the time in any medical office, we all know 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? Never 5 minutes. And so I said, how about if we make a promise that if we don't get you in the chair within 5 minutes, dinner for 2 on us? And the dentist went ballistic on it. We started promoting it all over Facebook. People loved it. It created a lot of attention. So there's one example of just sitting down with your team, and what you might think is very common, other competitors are not marketing it. So it's dump it all out there, and then and the bottom line too is this: that try it, track results. If it's not moving the needle, then sit back down with your team, come up with something different, and then pivot and try it again.
And I love that. So you're saying to figure out like brain dump, and probably the first like 5 or 10 or even more ideas are kind of the obvious ones. And then once you dig deep, dig down, but also you're saying in your thought process here is don't do it alone, right? Do this with your team so that way you bounce ideas off each other and really figure out, okay, what's the the differentiator, what can be exciting, what's the kind of the risk reducer, and then test that out, try that out, and see what the results are. And like that's an interesting idea right there on its own. Is this whole thing of like the rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic is the only way I can put it, right? Like you and me, even recently, we've commiserated a little bit about these dudes saying like, well, hey, what should my price point be, or what should be my webpage? And it's like, well, you don't know unless you try it out, and probably try it out more than you think you need to, right? You think you need to talk to 100 people, you need to talk to 600 people or more. And so, I mean, tell me about your maybe like the non-obvious business lessons, like where are people kind of going wrong, and it just like drives you crazy as far as just like the false assumptions.
Well, I think a lot, well, you just said it right there, false assumptions. The worst thing we can do in life is make assumptions, because typically when you make an assumption, what happens? It's not correct.
You can ask how to you and me is what I was going
I
to
was
say.
I was gonna you took it out of my mouth. But no, that's exactly right. Is you can't make assumptions, but the whole idea here is that the entire focus should be on your customer or client, depending on your profession, whether you're a coach, you're a small business owner, but it's got to be on them. So even when I talked about that dentist, see what the focus was. What is the biggest pain point for the customer? And a lot of times, like in a medical office, I'm sick of waiting. I get in this waiting room and I'm waiting forever. That's probably one of the biggest of all time. If you can say, we will get you in the chair in 5 minutes or less, or dinner on us, that's a differentiator, right? So I think all business owners stop thinking about your service and start thinking about how can you make it more valuable to your customer. And I think that alone, if any business did that right there, you probably double your revenues.
And you're kind of expressing this whole idea that sometimes you discover the gold, so to speak, right? And like that's such a metaphor, but there are these things that we do in our business that are kind of like not like it took us a while to figure it out, and it's like, and then you see people kind of they figure out the golden nugget, but then they get bored and they go off and do something else. And so let me ask you like a kind of a candid, direct question: is why do you not take the show on the road, right? You had this success with the dentist. Why did you get out of the dental niche? Did you just hate it? Or you burned out? Why not keep working with dentists?
That's a long story, and I don't want to alienate, the profession of dentistry, but I did it for 9 years. And working with dentists is a very challenging. Working with any doctor in the medical field, they bring an ego to the table. They definitely have egos, and I don't mind that. But and when you try to collaborate with, again, I can't say all of them, but my experience in dentistry is that a lot of them, they really they don't appreciate marketing. Marketing, and a lot of business owners right now, they hear the word marketing, and it's a big black hole, right? Most business owners have been burned before, and it's we've all been burned before in our services, right? We've hired people that overpromised and underdelivered for thousands of dollars or whatever it is, and it doesn't feel very good, and you get very skeptical, and you're on the defensive when you start seeing advertisements for something maybe you're looking for from a service offering, and they show the testimonials, they show all these things, but you just know that there's probably a chance that the testimonials are fake, or maybe the testimonials are years old, something like that, right? So with dentistry, it was time to move on. That's plain and simple, just time to move on.
Okay, well, fair enough. And I mean, that's a life lesson right in there, right? If someone just doesn't like you or says, "Oh, well, marketing that's too expensive," or "Don't believe you," then there's more fish in the sea. And I'm thinking about that all the time, right? There's the Grant Cardone saying, "Who's got my money?" And I'm thinking like, okay, who did I get in the your mindset, right? The Mike Peterson mindset, and I think my nickname of you when I speak about you to my wife is High Energy Guy, and the domain name highenergyguy.com is available, just to let you know. But sometimes I think like, okay, like Mike would send like 30 emails and he'd go into his sent folder and go and follow up with people that like he talked to 6 months ago. And so I'm always thinking like, okay, who did I lose the thread with? And I'm like trying to up my follow-up game. And so like, can you kind of share with us about like your people lessons? Because a lot of what you've shared so far is about the people, right? The people visiting the dentist's office, the dentist that maybe doesn't like the marketing ideas. And so what people skills have you picked up that maybe we could learn from?
Well, you just said it, follow up, right? Everything's in the follow up. And they say that Any business, when you're doing a marketing strategy, takes 7 to 14 touch points. And you can Google that, right? And sometimes it's more than that. And and I'm guilty of this. I might do 3 or 4 touch points and then kind of move on to something else. And you're really missing a huge opportunity, because if you've gotten in touch with a potential client or customer 3 times, who knows, that fourth time could be the one. It could be the one, because in life, everything's about timing. And that could be, yes, meeting the dream person of your life. It's getting the dream job. It's all about timing. But if you don't put yourself in that position to be in front of people on a consistent basis, you don't have any timing, because you're not creating it. And I do believe that in life, you have to go out. I tell my kids this. I have 2 adult children now, and I say, and here's what I tell them all the time: you got to go out and get it, because it's not going to come to you. And
Yeah.
that small business owners, entrepreneurs like you and I. And again, I'm not perfect. I'm guilty of, maybe a whole day, not often, but maybe a whole day goes by and I reflect at the end of the day, what action did I take to move the needle forward to get me more revenues? And not often, but sometimes it's zero. And then you have to be honest with yourself to say, well, I felt busy. I was working all day, but maybe you watched a couple of, educational YouTube videos. Then you took a break, and then you came back on LinkedIn, or then you got on Instagram. And even though you were on Instagram, like the business part of Instagram, not just looking at, fitness stuff or travel stuff, it's still not going to move the needle, because you're not being proactive. If we don't go out and let people know we exist, they don't know we exist. And I know, and you've told me that before. I mean, you and I've had lots of great conversations where you're motivating me. You call me the high energy guy. Sometimes you'll send me a message and go, do this, this, and this. What happens is, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we're too close to the fire. We're caught up in our own little world, our own little bubble. Here I work in my home. I'm looking straight down at my kitchen, and those 4 walls start closing in on you, and you get burnt out. And that's where I would tell people, get outside, go on a quick walk. You've got to recharge your battery. And in my opinion, recharging your battery isn't going and sitting on your butt on the couch. It's not going and watching TV. Recharge your battery is go out and get moving. Get outside, breathe the air. Don't even put your headphones on. Listen to the birds chirping. Listen to what. So funny. I was hiking the other day, and like 3 squirrels ran by, and I was in the middle of a mountain this steep like this, and these squirrels were on the trail halfway up this mountain. And I never stop on my hike. I'm a pit bull with my hiking. And I don't know what it was, but I stopped and just smiled at these 3 little dudes going across the trail. And I thought, how cool was that I got out of my normal routine of grinding that hike out and stopped and looked at these cute little squirrels. That's what I mean. You've got to take time in your day, get a little physical, not so much a workout, although that'd be fantastic, but just get outside and walk for 5 or 10 minutes. It'll do magic.
I love it. They call that having some good habits and having gratitude. And so you're giving us a lot of this helpful life advice and some things that are reminders, but it's good to have daily reminders, right? That's an inside joke with you and me, right? Daily reminder. And you think about, like, what are you doing that is just the busyness versus what's actually the productivity, what's actually moving the needle, as you put it. And I was just thinking about this morning. I heard some saying that's like, well, let's say you had like a girlfriend or a wife or something, and would you work on that relationship kind of once a month? Well, no, you wouldn't have a relationship anymore. You'd work on it every day. And so, like, if you really want something, then be obsessive about it and work on it every day. And so, I mean, tell us about what you can provide for us. Like, you mentioned a little bit about the community and the membership program, but like someone joined your membership and you said there's different tiers and all that, but like, what's the change that they're going to get in the next 30 days? What changes in their business and about what their output is?
Well, I think everybody, we've got what I call a gap, right? And this gap is where you're currently at and where you want to be. And the wider the gap, in my opinion, the bigger the sense of urgency is. And, it's unfortunate that human nature, we won't make a decision because change is uncomfortable. We won't make a decision until our backs are really against the wall. And I've been there. Our backs are really against the wall. Well, so if you take a look at this gap of where your dream end result is, right? And where you're currently at. For a lot of people, it's pretty large and it could look overwhelming. But for me, what you have to do is you have to be intentional with the actions you take on a daily basis. And so, this membership, this Business Growth Accelerator membership, I'm going to be in there all day. So you've got me as sort of your coach. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to be online all day, but I'll check in a couple, 2 or 3 times a day, and people can go in and ask questions. We've got a discussion forum. We've got a share your wins section. We've got get feedback and critique section. This is going to be a fun community where, for once, business owners aren't going to feel alone. Because I don't know about you, Robert, but for me, I've been working out of my home as a self-employed entrepreneur for 30 years in my home. And it gets very isolating and very, very lonely. And, and when you have a tough day, and I'm single, I've been, divorced for 5 years now. So when you have a tough day, there's really nobody to turn to. And so even doing this podcast with you is refreshing to me, because I've got a chance to talk to a guy that I know and really like you, and hopefully the listeners are getting lots of value from it. But I think people, they want to feel a part of something, and they want to feel part of something that has the same goals in mind, which is business growth. And through the membership, it's all about gaining clarity and creating a vision that that you're improving and moving towards the vision. Because I think a lot of us are on that hamster wheel. And that hamster wheel of day in and day out, the same thing over and over and over again. And when you do that, you're not moving forward. So you think you're busy, you think action's taking place, but it's not intentional action that's going to move the needle forward.
And that's huge. And it sounds so simple, but then you probably know this better than me. There's some like shocking statistic, like only 3% of people have written goals or something. Like, I'm like, are you sure it's not like 10? Like it's stupidly low. And it's like the answer is right in front of us, right? It's like, write down what you want, refresh that, revisit it, make sure that what you do is in service to getting there. And what I think, probably when I think of like the best advice you've given me, there was something where I was talking about like getting podcast clients or audiobooks or something, and you were like, how many like sales are you getting per week? And I was just like, I don't know. And so many times it's just like the simplest answer, like, what's your number? Like, and number can mean many things, right? Like, what's your list size? How many sales do you make? And how many people are you talking to? And just like, sometimes it takes that kind of mentor or that community, that person just asking you just a simple question like that. And so is there anything that comes to mind, as like we've been talking about, like mindset and all those other things, like, is there anything that, like, any specific like businessy action that you think that your future community members should take? Should they refresh their website? Should they work on their branding or their traffic? Like, what should we be doing in order to move that needle?
Oh my gosh, it's so many things. So many things. But the website is a forgotten entity for a lot of businesses. They haven't touched it for months, if not years. The messaging's wrong. They're not really being relatable to their ideal prospects. They're not even giving the right calls to actions to to lead that prospect down that buyer's journey. So when it comes to the website, that's a whole nother problem. And we've built 500 websites for clients in the last 20 years. And we're pretty good at it in the sense of, it's not the website for the sake of the website. It's the words on the website that sell. Words sell. And videos sell too, by the way. So I do want to interject with, a lot of times people don't want to get on video, including me. I don't like it more times than not. But when you want somebody to make a decision, it's going to be very difficult for them just to make a decision reading words on a website. They want a higher touch feeling. And that higher touch feeling would be video. And that's a whole nother topic we can get into, where when you script a video out, the average viewer of a video drops off after 15 seconds. 15 seconds. And so what happens with that is that, by the time somebody shot a video, they've said their name, they said the name of their company, and they've maybe said hello, and the 15 seconds is gone. That video is over. Right there. So whatever they say after the 15 seconds doesn't mean anything. So get to the point on that video. The hook should grab them in the first 5 seconds. The next 15 seconds to agitate the pain a little bit. After that, talk about the solution. After that, talk about the vision of what that future will look like. Throw a call to action in at the end, and you've got about a 40-second video that 80% of the people are going to watch all the way through. and they're going to hear your call to action. So yeah, there's so many different things, but that's what that community is going to cover month after month. It's all these different, what I call growth pillars. And we're going to drip them out because I want people to take action and execute on each one of these modules. And if I just release the whole thing, they're not going to do anything. So there's a strategic reason why I'm releasing each one month after month after month.
Right, and it's all ties to, like you just said, that first term strategy, right? Like you can have the best information, but unless you have it on the website in the right order of the sequence, then it's not going to be received. Unless you say, well, hey, I want to have a video and I want to explain this, and you say, well, hey, you need to have the hook part and have the agitation, and just like kind of reorganize the building blocks of this message in a specific way that kind of taps into human psychology. And same applies as far as your membership, right? You could dump all the information in. And I mean, it's kind of like trying to learn karate from reading a book. Like, well, you get all this mind dump and you learn all these moves and kicks. It's like, yeah, but there's a logical step-by-step sequence, and taking action and getting results and being motivated, and one thing leads to another, that the information is only part of it, especially with the usual platitudes these days of saying,
Oh
oh, well,
man.
our attention span's so low, information's out there, but like there's that very important kind of taking action point. And so what's the website here? What's the URL call to action?
Well, first off, I want to tell you this real quick. So, so many courses are coming online now, right? That's the big thing right now. Everybody's putting a course out. And I saw a YouTube video by a gentleman, I can't remember his name, and he shows statistics on this. And it's important I get this on this podcast. So the statistics show that less than 3% of people complete a course. 3% of people, 97% don't even complete it. And of those, many don't even open it up. So the whole idea here is that we all need to be held accountable, and we all need to take personal responsibility for our outcomes. And so part of that membership is accountability. We've got in there, we're going to create accountability groups where people can, form groups of 3 to 4 people. They can do their own calls on their own. This is a true community here. And I really do hope, my dream is having thousands of members down the road. But, I wanted to say that statement that don't buy another course. I mean, we don't need more information. We need to take action on the information we've consumed already. So that the community membership, yes, there's going to be great information, but could you Google all my information for free? Maybe, maybe not. But the point being, you get in there as a member, and we're going to hold you accountable to taking the action. And when you take the action, results are going to happen. And when results happen, the return on investment from this small investment on the membership is 100x, 1000x. It's going to be really, really big.
Very nice. And even before you were in dentistry, you were a golf guy. And with golfing, like having a coach is huge, right? And you can learn all the lessons on golf, but that's different from having a mentor to help you get there. And so if someone says, man, this membership site sounds amazing, I want to be part of this community, I want to go and complete the modules, where should someone go?
If they go to, and I'm going to say this slowly, if they go to www.adaptivedesignstrategist.com, one more time, adaptivedesignstrategist.com, right on the homepage, you'll see a button that says become a member. That'll take you to more information to read up on. And then you can pick, we've got 2 different levels of membership. The bigger level is going to have industry experts. It's going to have 2 calls a month with me where I dig into your business. So the higher priced membership is going to really be where I'm deeply involved. The lower priced membership is going to be almost a kind of do it on your own type of thing, other than getting into like the discussion forums and things like that.
Very cool. So adaptivedesignstrategist.com. See what's on that page, figure out your level, figure out what will help you get to where you need to go. And as we wrap up, wind down our conversation here, Mr. Mike, we've been talking about all these cool ideas, right? About like atomic actions and how to own your outcome. But as far as ending this conversation with a bang, has there been anything that's really like helped you in life and business? Do you have like a number one quote or lesson to share with us?
Well, nothing happens without action. Inaction is a decision, and inaction is a poor decision. So I want people to realize that the smallest of actions can trigger a snowball effect and change your life. And so when you get a thought or an idea or even an opportunity that comes to your mind, or maybe it's presented to you from the external world, don't ignore it. Stop, pause, reflect on it. And then if it looks like it's even remotely viable, take a little action towards that thought, idea, or opportunity, because you'll never know what'll happen.
Take some freaking action. I love it. So adaptivedesignstrategist.com is the first micro action to take. That way you can get this idea, see what happens, look at the data, reiterate, repeat, and then get towards your goals, right? And get towards the life of your dreams and fulfillment, self-actualization, all those good stuff. So adaptivedesignstrategist.com. And thank you, Mr. Michael Pedersen, for showing up again and inspiring us, reigniting us. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Robert.